As the technology landscape undergoes seismic shifts, it's important to understand the view from the top. A series specially curated to understand the leader, the business leader of tech companies, to know where the organization is moving, what is the direction that the company wishes to take, what is competition like, and what is the FOMO factor to be avoided. Advice to peers, understanding directions, and knowing the insights of where the technology landscape is headed. Hello and welcome to View from the Top. In this episode, we have an ex-Microsoft veteran who has spent several years across various tech companies. He has a firm belief that an integrated data platform should not be a mere enterprise play, but should cut across various types of organizations, be it large or small. In this episode, we are keen to hear his insights around how data and an integrated data platform in this era of AI can be a major deal breaker or a game changer for organizations in their data transformation journey. Let us welcome Vijayant Rai, Managing Director, Snowflake, India. Hello and welcome to our studios, Vijayant. It's not every day that a tech leader such as yourself walks into our studio. So hoping to have a great conversation, and let's go for it.
Thanks so much, Chandari, for having me here. It's wonderful to be with you. Look forward to this conversation.
Likewise. So let's start from the India story of Snowflake. So as a company globally for the last over dozen years, Snowflake has really walked the talk about data on the cloud when it was not even mainstream, So it's been a very exciting journey, and the India story likewise now is poised for exciting times, especially at a time when technology and digital has really taken off or promises to take off in India. So how do you see Snowflake really integrating into the current India story in terms of skills, skill development, tech collaborations, conversations with key government stakeholders, and so on? So your take.
Thanks. Great question, Shantari. I mean, again, if you look at India and where we are in our journey as a country, today we are the fastest growing developing economy in the world. Just the scale at which, India operates across different dimensions, the population and everything else is unbelievable. So, I mean, and the way I look at it, India is fast turning into a data-driven economy. Right? Even before we look at tech and stuff like that, what the government has done in terms of setting, infrastructure like DPG, Aadhaar, the India stack, all of that in place is quite unbelievable. And that's a data story. I mean, it's actually all data, which is being operated on to give better citizen services and facilities and even accelerate, the economy per se. So India is moving very quickly towards becoming a data-driven economy. Snowflake as a company, which is essentially a AI data cloud, is uniquely positioned to help accelerate this story, is what we believe. And across all segments, it could be the public sector, the enterprises, digital natives, small and medium enterprises. All of those sectors, we believe, will use data as a strategic asset in terms of moving ahead. This India story itself, if you look at it, largely India is still a lot of on-prem. The way tech companies look at it, a lot of data is still residing within companies in their data centers, etc. The unlock happens when you start getting this data, to say the public cloud, and you can then start using, that data with other data which is there in the public domain. We call it structured, unstructured data. How do you bring it together? And then you start seeing the unlock of data and value coming out of it. All of that is happening in measures in different parts of the industry, but then it's just in the infancy. We believe this is just a takeoff stage, for India and data itself. But data would be front and center of everything any company does today. It is a board level conversation. I mean, today when I speak to CEOs and CXOs, very clearly they want to understand how can they unlock the value of data in their organization. How can they collaborate with their ecosystem better? How can they compete? People are worried as well. I mean, if you don't have your data in the right shape, format, etc., will you be able to take advantage of the AI revolution which is happening? So we believe Snowflake is uniquely positioned to help customers and public sector, take advantage of the platform to accelerate their data journey, transformation journeys, and move ahead. Snowflake in India itself is a little bit of a new story, I would say. I mean, we're just about 5-6 years old in India. But having said that, we already have a very large set of customers across enterprises, digital natives, and different parts of the market. They're small and medium enterprises. The key thing about the Snowflake platform, Shantari, is that it is a platform which is very easily consumed, in the sense that the problem with tech is that, people are worried that you need a bunch of engineers and you need a whole lot of other things to happen. The promise of Snowflake is that you can get value out of the platform really quickly and without complication. So today, we have customers which are extremely, who are small customers, we have medium, and we have very, very large enterprises. And the best thing is that all of them get the same set of features and functionalities to work on. Having said that, we also have a very big commitment to the Indian market. I mean, today, we have close to 600 people in India. We have a large center of excellence in Pune with close to about 500 people there. We have folks from global support based in Pune, Bangalore, different locations. A GTM organization which is working with different parts of the industry. A partner ecosystem, which again is sort of a force multiplier, the way I look at it, which we're incubating here in a big way. We also have a lot of data set partners we're building in India, which we believe will help the data economy evolve as we go. So big commitment to the Indian market, but also because the Indian market is showing so much promise. This GDP growth, this acceleration in economy also means that from a Snowflake perspective, it's a great place to be.
Absolutely. So while I'll move to your data platform, I would quickly like to understand how the India Center of Excellence fits into the larger story.
Yeah, so the COE or the Center of Excellence in Pune is a very unique setup anywhere globally for Snowflake. I mean, it's a center where, for example, we run a program called Snow on Snow. What that means is that we get customers there, we get partners there, and we actually show them how Snowflake runs on Snowflake. So for example, how does Snowflake Finance use the Snowflake Data AI Cloud for our own outcomes? How do we, for example, report back to the stock market after a quarter closes within a few days' time using our own tools, right? So it's a great testament how does Snowflake actually consume Snowflake and give outcomes, to the business. So we run Snow on Snow in Pune, great team there. We also have folks from different departments, who run global Snowflake from Pune. So that's a big commitment. We also have product management and engineering pods over there in the Pune center. So it's a big commitment. We believe it's going to scale up even further as we go.
Yeah, interesting, given that right now India is also seen as a place where innovation happens.
Yes.
A lot of, global capability centers are also based out of India. This is boom time for India, right? So
it is. So, I mean, our India business has multiple dimensions. One is what we do for the Indian market, which is our commitment to enterprises, the public sector, the small and medium enterprises, and all of that. The second dimension is what can we do for the global customers we have. A very large set of our global customers are based here in India, and our commitment is we actually have invested in a team specifically to help work with these customers so that they can get better outcomes on the Snowflake platform, because a lot of data decisions are now happening from India, for global customers. So our commitment is to the India market, from the India market to global customers, and of course the Pune Center of Excellence, which is the third part of the commitment.
Absolutely. So, circling back on to the data platform conversation. So, as you rightly mentioned and pointed out earlier, the data platform kind of dispels the notion that this is just a large enterprise play, right?
Yes.
So, organizations across sizes find value in it, and it's very easy to use. Tech becomes democratized in a very nice way. So having said this, what are those specific customer stories that you think have really moved the needle for Snowflake as a, serious data player in this country?
It's, couple of things, and again, the simplicity of it. I mean, the whole point is this is a SaaS-based AI data cloud, which is very easy to consume. What it means is that most of the things you need to do to manage your data, so, govern your data, etc., is already built into the platform. I was with a customer in Mumbai some time back, a startup company in wealth management, and I was checking with them, how long they took to go live on Snowflake, and it was a matter of months. And I checked with them, who did it for them. They said in-house. I mean, they had 3 people in-house who actually managed to get Snowflake on production and moving. So it's as easy as that. So the impression people have is data is a big boys game. You need to have lots of resources, engineers, everything thrown at that. Snowflake dispels that. You can actually have data outcomes on the platform, because what we do is today whatever global best practices are there, feature functionalities are available on the platform. So the learnings we get anywhere in the world, is built into the platform. You don't have to do any of that. What you have to do is manage your data, because your data is your data. We don't look into any data which is there in the platform. So we give you the tools and the feature functionality to which the biggest banks in the world might have, is available to the smallest say startups in India. So, but the same quality and same feature functionality is available to them to work on. So it's a massive game changer in that sense. If you can get your data on the cloud, you can start working with structured, unstructured data at speed. The outcomes which you can get are pretty phenomenal. And then the second piece is, today everybody's talking about AI. We can't do any conversation without talking about, say, generative AI or AI. The fact of the matter is AI works on data. Right, and so what Snowflake can do for customers is get you quickly on the cloud, get your data in shape in a governed, trusted fashion on which you can apply AI, and then get those use cases and value props out.
So as you just said, the more and more organizations, irrespective of their size, the more value they see in your proposition, then the more democratized the whole thing becomes, right? Your play becomes more democratized and easier to take to more and more customers. So I think the change is builds on.
Absolutely, and I'll probably substantiate this with a few examples, Shantari, if it's okay. If you look at data itself, the first unlock enterprises have, or what they struggle with, is breaking data silos, right? So you have your sales data somewhere, your HR data somewhere, your transaction data somewhere. It doesn't talk to each other. So the first thing people want to do with something like Snowflake is break all the data silos, get data in one place. Once you've done that, you can get a lot more insights, analytics out of that data. And that itself is a big unlock. The second unlock which happens is the ability of an enterprise or a company to collaborate with its ecosystem. So for example, you're an airline, and your ecosystem would have hotels and all of that industry there. The ability of, say, that airline company to work with, say, a hotel chain in terms of sharing data, etc., for campaigns, could be all of that, is another massive unlock, and that's a possibility. The good thing is companies are already doing that. Then the third piece of unlock is using third-party data, to enrich your own data. And I'll give examples of all of these. And because the good thing is, in India, we have customers who are doing all of this, right? So you have people who are breaking data silos. There are people who are sharing and collaborating with their ecosystem. And then you have the third piece is where they're using third-party data sets to enrich their own data. And then there's a fourth as well, which is what people talk about a lot, the cliche, data is the new oil, monetizing your data. Right, your ability to then monetize your data, which is, I would say, the Uber state of data, maturity, if you get there. So if you look at companies like, for example, we have Bajaj General Insurance, BAGIC, which is a very large private sector insurer, as you know. They use Snowflake to break data silos, bring all the data together, and get insights and analytics out of it. Major unlock, because what they're doing is a bunch of other systems which are there are actually now bringing data into Snowflake, and then that gives them the ability for getting back to their business folks, their distribution network with a lot of insights, etc. You have companies like Shiprocket, which is an e-commerce enabler company, and they use this for again efficiencies, for working with their ecosystem, and again just the speed at which they can now transact. Right, because everything is on the cloud, they can share it with their partners better. Is another example, of a company which is doing this. An example where data sharing can be done is Razorpay. So Razorpay a few months ago announced a product called DataSync, which is based on Snowflake data sharing. Now Razorpay, as you know, is one of the largest payment aggregators in India. They have more than 100,000 e-commerce partners. Now, what they need to do on a daily basis is, give information on payment back to them. Saying that, okay, this is the transactions which happened for you, Mr. XYZ, so that e-commerce company can do reconciliation, fraud management, all of those things. Now, that's easier said than done, because you need to create data pipelines, all of that. Very cumbersome. Plus, it's almost not real-time or close to real-time at all. With Snowflake Data Share, they can actually do that seamlessly without any, we call it ETLs or data pipelines. The e-commerce companies can just come and fetch their data or work on their data. So amazing unlocks happening of that kind on data already in India. So some examples of companies which are sort of, moving to the next level of data maturity.
So which brings me to the next part of the question. So partner ecosystems, global alliances are very critical for the growth of an organization, and Snowflake has not been far behind in that. You have your hyperscaler alliances, you have your global tech tech alliances, strategic alliances, and you have a thriving partner ecosystem, an ISP ecosystem. So how do you see all of this fitting into the growth story for 2025?
Sure, Shantari. I mean, partners, if you look at it, for us, they're force multipliers. I mean, for operating a large territory like India, we need all the help we can get. And partners, bring in a whole lot of skill sets which adds on top of what Snowflake does. Like I mentioned, Snowflake is a platform. We provide all the beauty of what you can do in terms of managing your data, securing your data, all of those things. But partners bring that unique, domain knowledge into the equation. They bring that reach into the equation. So we have partners across advisory partners. We have partners across, global system integrators. We have regional system integrators. We have ISV partners. We have data partners. So it's a massive ecosystem which we have created, in India. And the best thing is that this ecosystem also serves the world. India is in a unique position where just the skills we have available here, is parallel to nobody. So I mean, today, if you look at APJ for Asia Pacific, the partner ecosystem, a very large part of that runs actually out of India. As well. So for us in India, the way we look at them is, partners who bring, say, vertical knowledge. So we have partners who have, say, for example, assets created on top of. One of the advisory companies has actually created an asset for regulatory reporting, just as an example, right? So wonderful, use case, and like that, you have multiple use cases built on top of the Snowflake platform. In terms of customer outcomes, done by advisory companies, system integration partners, and then you have ISV partners who are pretty unique because they're outcome-based. So, just to give you an example, we have a partner called Bijli, which is based in Bangalore, also based in the US. They work with utility companies. And what they do is they get all utility data, how you're consuming, how these lights, are consuming and all of that. They get all of the data in from utility companies and, do analytics on top of it, run AI on top of it, and give it back to the utility companies for different things like grid planning or EV setups and all of that. So amazing use cases in terms of what partners bring to the table. So they actually bring that unique outcome-based flavors on top of what the Snowflake platform provides. For me, when I look at partners, they're part of our team. They are Snowflake. We invest a lot of our resources in terms of certifications, trainings, all of that, so that they're able to deliver the best for our customers. So that's the way we look at that. Skilling is a very large part of what we do for our partners.
So with AI, being such a focus across the board, and you had also mentioned, rightfully so, that more and more organizations are moving towards becoming data-driven and have achieved different levels of data maturity. And India, in general, is now moving towards being a data-driven economy, right? So Snowflake is also kind of heavily looking at AI through its AI-centric platform and is kind of banking upon it, Cortex. So how do you really see Cortex now kind of changing the AI conversations for customers? And what's the general sense that you're getting from customer conversations?
It's such an interesting conversation, isn't it? I mean, if you look at, especially after generative AI came, the expectation is that it will change the world. And my belief is it will take some time. It will take some time as it matures and we start seeing bigger use cases, outcomes happening there. But very clearly, it's a seminal moment from a computing perspective and from an industry perspective. From a Snowflake point of view, very clearly the way we look at it is that today your AI is as good as your data. So if your data is secure, governed, all of that, you will get good AI outcomes. People are worried about hallucinations and all of those things if you read about them. Those things, the foundational is data. So what we profess is there is no AI strategy without a data strategy, which means that the first thing every company needs to do is have an intentional data strategy, get your data in the right shape, break your silos, bring them all in, ensure that besides the strategy or the breaking the silos piece of it, you also start building a data-driven culture internally, which is about people and processes. And once you do that, you will start seeing that you are able to then apply AI at a different level. And again, use cases are already out. You mentioned Cortex. So Cortex, for example, is our AI framework, right? And today we have things like document AI, which is available as an LLM for getting getting basically text out of unstructured data like PDFs and all of that. So making unstructured data into structured data, stuff like that. Amazing use case. I mean, today just imagine the amount of documents which are there, and the ability to then get intelligence out of that, convert that into a structured document, and then do an English language search on it, versus an SQL search, is a massive, unlock. Now, all of those use cases are out there. The whole motion of getting them into production, etc., companies are experimenting right now. There are a whole lot of POCs, which organizations are doing. We are also doing a lot of that with different companies. So they're trying to see which is the right use case, where you have scale, the cost piece of it also has to work out, and then we'll probably start seeing that coming into motion. The first use cases we saw in the industry were chatbots, for example, which are LLM based chatbots. You then started seeing these text summarization and those sort of use cases coming into being. So those are the first few, but there are, I can tell you, we are doing experimentation POCs with different verticals, from financial services to manufacturing to retail. Which are far more sophisticated, but then they will take more time to mature, and then finally you start seeing production coming out of that. But in my mind, the foundation is data, and a lot of companies, especially legacy organizations, are sitting on loads of data already. Now, to really get the value out of the data in terms of AI, the first piece is get it into a position and shape in a fashion which is secure and governed, and then you apply AI on top of it, so that the outcomes are what people can trust and and far more secure. So we believe that the data piece is absolutely foundational. AI is coming on top of it. As a philosophy, Shantari, what we do is we say that your data stays in the Snowflake AI data cloud. The LLMs or the AI comes to the data. The data doesn't go out, which is another measure of saying how secure the platform is, and ensuring that your data doesn't get compromised, which is what most enterprises worry about. The other piece is today, in terms of data masking, you're looking at the DPDP bill, the privacy bill in India as well, right? The platform has taken learnings from things like GDPR, the privacy rules in the US and other places, already built into the platform. We have a point of view for the data protection bill in India as well. But the point is, we already have all of that goodness and controls built into the platform, so that organizations can, without worrying too much, get their data in. It is, of course, still a question of both the tool and the process side of things. So, but very excited with what can happen with AI. India is the other piece, if you notice, is the digital natives are already heavily on AI. I mean, some of the stuff which some of our digital natives are doing, and some of them have customers, including some of ours, which is like 80, 100 million users, or subscribers they're working with. They're using AI already in a very large measure. So it's happening in two parts. There is the digital native community which is experimenting, giving those use cases and learnings, which we believe and will come into the mainstream in a matter of time. It will take still, in my mind, a couple of years before you start seeing very large use cases coming in the traditional enterprise.
Absolutely. And the interesting part is it's always constantly going to be this delicate balance between innovation and guardrails, right? As you said, the DPTP has kind of factored a lot of things, and I think there's a lot of cross-country learnings also. I think about 137 countries now have some form of, data privacy or protection regulation or legislation that's in motion. So obviously India has really picked the best from everywhere and has been, and by and large, the discourses around GDPR, versus DPDP. So anyways, that's interesting. So given the kind of regulations that have come in, what would be those two things you would tell customers, with regard to their data, with regard to what they should really watch out for?
When I look at our business it's a business of trust. We have people's data with us, right? Obviously, it is their data. We are just custodians of providing tools, mechanisms so they can get more out of it. But it is completely 100%. A customer's data is his own data, and the mechanisms and controls of what he does with that data, etc., are given to him. in my mind, the key thing anybody needs to think about when they're building a data strategy is, how are you going to secure your data? Because eventually it is customer data, employee data, and you really can't take any chances with that. So our one big part of what Snowflake does is work with our customers and partners in terms of telling them how to secure the data, how to actually move data around, in the most secure fashion as well. So a big part of what we do is also the education piece of it, as to how can you manage your data best. But in my mind, if I look at our customers, the key things they need to look at is essentially the aspect of security. As you're scaling and getting bigger, you need to see how you're doing that, how you're treating your data, and also bringing in process and controls within your organization to make sure that that's sort of not compromised at any level. But absolutely crucial, it is data.
Absolutely. So, which also kind of takes me to the next topical discussion. Everybody's talking about the GCCs right now, from how they've turned out to be, moved from being captive to value centers to capability centers. The discourse has dramatically changed, right? And NASSCOM and Zinnov and EY have like fantastic numbers to prove this discourse also, right? And it's true, the story has taken off. How do you as Snowflake see yourself being an integral part of this growth story?
Like I mentioned earlier, for us, there are multi-dimensions to our India business. One is the business we serve Indian customers. The second dimension is actually serving global customers from India. And that's recognizing the fact that a lot of decision making, a lot of what used to happen on data is now happening from India. So it's absolutely crucial that we are able to support our global customers with a lot of what's happening on data and AI happening from India. To that end, what we've done is we've actually invested in a dedicated team to look out for GCC customers in the country to help them consume better. We've also invested heavily in professional services. Folks who are deep tech can come work with the customers, GCC customers here, understand their data estates, advise them on what more they can do from India, and help them in that regard. So very important part of our global strategy, and these are very important customers for us. So from our point of view, we view that as a very strategic investment. We put in a team like I mentioned there, and in all probability, as time goes by, that business will become even more strategic from a Snowflake perspective.
Excellent. So there's a huge story that's ready to be played out here as far as the GCCs are concerned. So comes back to the eternal million-dollar question that I'm sure every tech leader has to answer at some point of time. So we do know that legacy companies, or even the non-digital natives as they call themselves, or what we call them, have to move or have this delicate balance between moving to state of art, and at the same time they have to look at technical debt. And so it's a balance between tech investments and tech debt. So what would be your frank, honest advice to digital decision makers, to CIOs, as to how they should really view this dispassionately? What is the right thing for them to do? So your take.
Great question. And over the years, I've been seeing the evolution of cloud in India itself, right? 2015, 16, 17 is when it started. We had COVID come in, and that's when the acceleration to the cloud started off, especially with the digital natives, the SMEs, even the corporate sector. The larger enterprises started moving as well, but in sort of smaller pieces there. And like you correctly said, it's not, you can't move everything up straight away, and not only in India but even globally for that matter. There's a lot of systems, applications which have been running for a period of time. They serve a specific purpose in these organizations, may it be a bank or a manufacturing company or a retail organization. It's there. The question is, how do you then sort of utilize the cloud as a force multiplier for the business? So we believe that systems would remain in a lot of places. There would be a gradual transformation to the cloud. In a lot of senses, and that's a practical way of doing it. You have a whole lot of investments there, like you said, a technical depth. In all these organizations, it will take time. What we've seen in a lot of companies is they use these cloud-based systems. Say, for example, Snowflake as a serving layer on top. So it essentially saying that today I have lots of data lying around. I need to have more analytics. But to do that, I need to have my sales and HR data talking to each other. So these are separate systems. They stay where they are. They're serving a lot of purpose of payrolls and this and that. Can I get this data together in some place and then run some analytics on top of it and then serve so many people? in my organization or outside. So Snowflake comes on top. So we believe that there is a strategy which is hybrid as well. As companies, go further and further in their cloud journeys, and that takes time, you still can actually start getting outcomes by bringing in, solutions like Snowflake on top, which can actually quickly accelerate some of those journeys. But, it's a gradual process in a lot of companies. Digital natives, for example, are born in the cloud. Don't have any debt, so they can go straight away. But larger companies, have that motion, and it's a very successful one. I mean, some of the largest banks in the world today, operate in a similar fashion. They will have their legacy systems. So, for example, core banking systems in most banks in India or global, are that way. But it doesn't stop the banks from, bringing in, systems for transformation of, say, customer experience or employee experience or data on top. So, we believe it's a gradual journey. And that's the right way to do it, as you gradually transform and, get to the cloud. But thanks to the cloud, you don't have to wait. You can actually start some places and then keep developing on that.
Absolutely. And also, it's also, at a larger level about building the right business case, right?
Yeah.
If there's a value in what they have to look at, then they have to look at it. It's inevitable. As you said, some of the larger banks whom we would have thought would have been KG have actually got some great stories in CX, you know? Right from something as simple as account opening to, kind of looking at closure of accounts, loan systems, fraud management, fraud analytics.
Yes.
I think they've really kind of scaled,
Exactly.
And some of the broking firms also have really done great work there.
Exactly. So what happens is your systems remain there. All you're doing is you're getting data from there. And now you have the ability to get into a system very quickly, marry it with other data, and start, like you said, do fraud management, do different customer experience sort of things there. We've also seen, for example, a very large, part of our financial services business are asset management companies globally and in India. And what they do is they actually use data sets which are outside. So, for example, you have an LSEG, a London Stock Exchange data set, or an S&P data set, etc. They utilize all of that, basically come into the Snowflake marketplace to essentially enrich their own data, and then serve their customers better. So data is that sort of an asset which is now rather fluid, and it's available far more easier than it used to be. And again, there are guardrails everywhere, believe me, to ensure that it's secure and it's governed. Whatever moves in that sense. PII data, for example, right? I mean, today, if you look at regulated industry, the biggest concern is, PII data can't go out. It's absolutely clear. And so we have solutions where, for example, data clean rooms, where you can actually anonymize the data and still do overlap analysis between, say, two different companies. And do campaigns and those sort of things. So technology is available, which will ensure that even in regulated environments, you don't compromise security or PII.
Absolutely. I think PII is like a very fascinating story in itself, both at the user level and at the testing level. So great. Thanks for sharing that, Vijayant. Which brings me back, and I can't resist this question. Must close with this question. So as a leader who has been in the industry for so long, you've been with some of the tech majors earlier, and so you've really seen different cycles of business across companies that you've worked with, So how would you advise your peers about FOMO, in terms of so many things, about shifting market landscapes, about competition, about changing tech trends, and so much has been happening now. We've discussed this earlier as well. So much right now, which threatens to kind of wipe out companies, market caps, and so on. So how would you really advise your peers as a view from the top, as to what they should really be looking at? What should they really be concerned about or not concerned about?
Great question. And, again, like you said, FOMO and other aspects there, things are changing so fast. So fast, I mean, it's unbelievable, right? I mean, you're talking Gen AI, you're talking agentic AI, you're talking of, God knows what comes next. Keeping up is a tough one. But I think the thing which serves, leaders very well is staying curious. It's so important to stay curious of what's happening around you. We don't have to be masters of everything day one, but just sort of keeping your eyes and ears open, learning from others. I learn from all my colleagues. I spend time trying to understand what's happening in tech. I catch them in corridors and ask them, what does this mean? Let me know. And essentially, it's important to stay curious, as the world evolves, and it's going to evolve even at a faster pace. So important that leaders are learning all the time. right? And CEOs, CXOs I'm meeting nowadays, it's amazing. Folks in banking industry, in manufacturing, talking CEOs, talking about Kubernetes, containers, etc. So I can tell you, at the top, people are very conscious about it. They are learning. They know that today every company is almost a tech company. You need to have an understanding of that to really get outcomes for your employees, for your shareholders, and then for your customers as well. So extremely important to keep on learning is one big thing I would profess. It's easier said than done. The load of data which you have anyway flowing on you is always going to be there. But so important to take that time out just to understand what's happening next in the world and what does it mean for me and my company and my my ecosystem there. So learning is one big deal. The second one, and not just because I'm working for Snowflake, but I would think that very important that every company, every leader actually has a view on data. His own data for his business, for his organization, because data is that fundamental thing which is getting monetized. That's the thing which is also being looked at from a security risk perspective, everything. So it's so important that every organization has a very intentional data strategy. So if there are two things, I'd say be curious, keep learning, look at your data strategy. What is your thought process on that? Just so that you don't miss out, and then you're able to get the maximum out of your data. So those would be two things I would think are absolutely crucial. Besides that, I guess FOMO would still happen every now and then. You will feel that maybe we missed out on some cycles here. But the good news is that things will keep changing. The opportunities will keep coming for riding the next wave. But I guess those would be the two I would leave out for the listeners here.
Absolutely. So I think a true leader actually, I think, should kind of obsess less over what has not been and focus more on what can be next, right? I think that will help you to look at missed opportunities as blessings in disguise. Actually.
Absolutely. That's true. It is a fast-moving world. If you look at what's happening in social media and the way things are changing with the younger folks, it is just so important to learn from them. They understand the tech world and the consumption side of technology far better, right? So the trends are changing very fast. So in my mind, like you said, you shouldn't worry too much about cycles which will come and go a little bit. Basics need to be strong. The foundations of trust in everything, especially for a business. If there's one single thing every business needs to think about is trust. Trust with your customers, your employees. If you can build that framework, you would be fine, I would think. Because that's going to be the currency of the future. Because there's going to be so many inputs. Who do you trust? So from that point of view, if trust is a building block, then that's the key thing which will keep organizations ahead, in my mind.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well stated. And thank you so much for joining us and sharing your views so candidly in View from the Top, which is truly a series where leaders give us a macro view from the top. So thank you so much, Vijayant, for joining us today.
Thank you, Shantari. Thanks for this platform. Loved this conversation, and wish you all the very best for many more conversations like this.
Absolutely. Look forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.